Hi guys, now it's time for the second half of the costing, standardized recipe, everything else. We're going to talk about our culinary lab forms, and this is the thing that we've been doing for years, and it kind of gets you in the habit of doing standardized recipes and costing and converting the recipes and all sorts of different things. So I wanted to share with you these papers. Now we're all used to, I just want to bring this up, the lab book journaling. You all have labs books, we hand it out. And it's kind of these things we said to put into the lab book. And I know we've handed all that out to you. I'm also going to be posting that in Teams under the file section because there's still some of you that are struggling with that a little bit. So that way you can look at that. So look for that there as well. But when we talk about lab forms, we're going to talk about some different types of forms. And where you're going to find those is simply in Microsoft Teams under your class. This is 5th period culinary. Let me back out of that so you can see. Let's just go to general. Okay, so here's 5th period culinary. And if we go up to our files section, class materials, you have up here regular culinary labs and distance education lab forms. Distance education lab forms are the lab evaluation sheet and the parent lab form that replaces the lab journal, this journal down here that we're doing in class, because many of you at home do not have the lab journal and it's hard to correct that. So I have you and your parents fill out an evaluation sheet and send that back in, and that replaces the lab journals, which will be most of our labs this year. However, under the regular culinary labs, and this goes for you distance ed students as well, I really want you to work on these for the next couple of labs that we're doing, because this is the entire package. And some of you may actually like this better than journaling. And if you're at home and you like this better, you could also fill out this type of form if you want at home. The only thing I'm going to ask you to do in addition is the parental form, because I don't get a chance to taste your creations. So I ask that a parent does and that you let them grade you that way. All right, so let's go over these lab forms a little bit. The first one is the lab evaluation form, and this is quite similar. It's identical to the distance ed one, but for those of you who haven't studied it yet, this form basically says when you finish the lab, we want to know what you thought of it. How was the taste, the mouth feel? What did it feel like in your mouth? What did it smell like? What, after you swallowed it, that would be the taste here when you were eating it. After you swallowed it, what kind of aftertaste did it leave in your mouth? Now, outside of the taste, what did it look like before you ate it? Was it appealing? Was it ugly? Um, the texture, and that could be the texture before, or it could be the texture. Well, texture and mouthfeel are the same. This is the texture on the plate. This is the texture in your mouth. And then overall, what you overall thought of the lab. It's not a total. Please do not add up these numbers. Now, these numbers in here, these scores are 1 through 5. 1 is not good. 5 is great. And things in between. So in this score should be a 1 through a 5. Either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. On the overall, it should once again be 1 through 5. Not a total. Don't add these up. This is just number 1 through 5. Was it a not so good lab? Was it something you hate? Like, I don't know, most kids hate liver. Okay, so it was at liver. It was terrible. I don't want to eat that again. I don't even want to cook it again. Or was it great because it was a chocolate chip cookie and just about everybody likes chocolate chip cookies? Okay, so that's how that's scored. But overall, it doesn't have to be that way. It could be a chocolate chip cookie that you like, but you burnt it. So the overall, it was a 1 because it wasn't good, or 1 because there was too much baking soda and it made me foam at the mouth when I ate a cookie. Something, different things like that. Okay, down here, very important. This is highlighted. We're not going to accept incomplete answers. There are questions here. What went well? What didn't? What would you change to improve the score above? I don't mean the score what I'm giving you for a grade. I mean the score that you scored the lab. For example, on the previous too much baking soda in the cookie, I would say I would have measured more accurately so that I didn't foam at the mouth while eating my cookie. Something like that. Okay. So, what did you learn in the lab that you could use next time when you make that recipe again? And you can type your answers. Well, you should type your answers because everything we're doing now is all digital. So you should type your answers on here, and that's fine. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. I'm just kind of introducing you to these forms. We'll come back to that later. Okay, so that is this lab form. So I'm going to close that form. That's the lab. Oops, I got to go back into class materials, back into regular coloring lab forms. That was the lab form 2017, or also known as the lab self-evaluation form. Our standard recipe worksheet. This is our standard recipe, and it talks about, well, first of all, it has your name, the class period you're in, the date, the lab number, and assignment. That's going to make sense to you later on because I will be giving you lab numbers when you're doing these labs that require these forms. The recipe name was a chocolate chip cookie. Okay, how many portions did the recipe make? What was the portion size? What was the total yield of the recipe? This is a basic math problem. It made three 3-ounce cookies. 3 times 3-ounce cookies is the total yield would be 9 ounces. It's simple, okay? Don't just put a number here. We need to know, well, this can be a number, 3 portions. But what's the portion size? Don't give me 3 or each. Give me a size, okay? There's a 3-ounce cookie, a 2-ounce cookie, a 1-ounce cookie. If they were 1-ounce cookie and we had, 3 1-ounce cookies, this would only be 3 ounces, right? Cooking method. Which cooking method did we use? And we'll be talking about cooking methods a little bit later on after this form, so you can not worry about that much. But if it was a cookie, baking would probably be a good method, right? Where did the recipe come from? Typically, you find recipes online at web type pages, but where did it come from? Did it come from the Great Cookie Recipe Collection? Did it come from Epicurean, Food Network Television? Did it come from your grandma's index card holder with cookies in it? Okay, so where did that come from? Description of what it is we're making. And any notes here like, ooh, as you mix this stuff, preheat your oven to 350 degrees so you're ready to bake. Okay. Over here is the item. Flour, sugar, chocolate chips, baking soda, salt. Okay. Over here would be the amount. Do not worry about the percentages at this time. That's a baking skill, but this form is also used by my bakers. Procedure method. This will be numbered. 1. What do you do first? 2, 3, 4, 5. And at the end of the recipe, are there any footnotes or corrections like there's too much chocolate chips in the recipe? Cut that down. Okay, something. Okay, and then that's blank because it just bled over. And that's our standard recipe worksheet. We don't particularly list equipment on ours, but you can because the lecture talked about equipment. You can list it in procedures. You can list it under ingredients. You can do an ingredient column and a equipment. You can, you only got 4 or 5 ingredients. You can skip a line and start equipment. And of course, you can always add lines to this. This is a simple tab, so you can, when you open it in Word, not when you open it in Teams, you can insert a line, and I'll show you that later. It can be 2 pages. That's fine. Doesn't matter to me. Shouldn't matter to you. Okay, so it can be 2 pages. All right, so we're going to close that one. That's our standard recipe form. Now I'm going to go back in here to our regular culinary lab forms. I'm going to show you a couple of others. First is a recipe conversion sheet. This is an Excel spreadsheet. Once again, you can open this up in Excel, and your view would only be this page here. You wouldn't have all of this over here when you open it up in Excel. But here you write the ingredients. Once again, we don't worry about the percentages that you're going to learn in Baking 1. The original amount. So if your recipe called for flour 2 cups, you're going to put 2 cups here. The standard amount is a weight amount. So we're going to measure those cups in the kitchen, and we're going to see a cup is 4.5 ounces maybe. So we're going to say the original amount was 2 cups. The standard amount is going to be 9 ounces. 4.5 ounces per cup. 4.5 plus 4.5, 9 ounces, right? Okay. So we convert all our original amounts to standard amounts. Then we have what's called a conversion factor. Now that tells us, and this is the formula for it right up here, new over old equals a conversion factor. And it tells us, I want a pointer and I'm getting something else, okay. It tells us that if we want to make 24 cookies and the recipe makes 12 cookies, 24 divided by 12 is going to be equal to 2 is our conversion factor. So over here we'd put 2. So if we have 9 ounces here in the standard amount times 2 would be 18 ounces or 1 pound 2 ounces. And that would be the new amount. Okay. Up here once again, name, date, class period. Okay. And that's the standard recipe conversion worksheet. This worksheet is optional. It's not part of the lab. It's a tool for you to use. You can turn it in with any lab for 10 extra credit points. Now, keep that in mind. If I've given you a recipe, it's already been put in standard amount, and it's already been converted to what I want it to be, this doesn't count. You can't just fill in the blanks here and expect me to give you credit. The only way I'm giving you credit is if you did the work and you put in the standard amount, the conversion factor, and the new amount. Okay? If you didn't put in the conversion factor and a new amount, I'm not giving you extra credit points. But this form with the labs is worth an extra credit, 10 points, or actually it's 10%, I think. I think that could be more than 10 points. That could be up to 15 points. Okay? So keep that in mind. That can help you. Okay. That's the lab forms, our Academy lab forms. There's one more I want to show you, and it's one that you're going to be using. We talk about it in this lesson, but we're not going to use it yet. So give us a week or two, and we'll come back to this. And this is a recipe costing worksheet, where we once again put an item and the amount down. That's the recipe worksheet. And here we go. Our item, the amount, and then we're going to go unit cost. We're going to find out how much it costs for the flour, like flour, 9 ounces. Unit of measure we buy it in is a 50-pound sack. Our unit cost is, I don't know, I'm going to say $20. So the total cost we have to convert here is figure out how much 9 ounces is from 20 pounds. And that's what we get there. So, and we'll be doing that in class, so you'll understand how that goes. And for those of you at home, watch the lecture, and I'll be doing another costing lecture in a week to 10 days to help you guys out a little bit more. Okay. So those are the lab forms. I'm going to stop this video here because I've gone through the lab forms and where you can find them, once again, under the file area in Teams, under your class. I'm going to stop the video here. So now you know about lab forms. I'm going to start another one about filling them out. And how to fill them out easily without causing yourself too much discomfort when it comes to using computers and filling out forms. So I'm going to show you guys how to fill out online Word documents in Teams. Okay, that's it. Thanks. Bye.